The sound of hurried footsteps echoed across the white marbled hallway as the caretaker's voice broke into a trembling whisper, but it was the man at the end of the corridor, a single father in worn jeans and a faded blue shirt, who leaned in with a tight jaw, raised a shaking finger, and said, "Shut up. Don't say a word." His voice wasn't loud, but it carried a weight that pressed the entire room into silence. And in that moment, no one realized that the person he was silencing wasn't an employee, wasn't a security guard, but the billionaire owner of the entire mansion who had returned home hours earlier than anyone expected. What unfolded next would shatter assumptions, rip open wounds long hidden, and reveal a truth so unexpected that even the billionaire himself stood frozen, unable to breathe. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of humanity, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Heart of a Father. Before the story continues, the day had begun like any other for Aidan Marlowe, a 38-year-old single father who carried the weight of the world on his shoulders but wore it with a quiet steadiness. He was used to long shifts, broken routines, and balancing hope on the thin edge of survival. His daughter, Rowan, only 9 years old, had been his strength ever since her mother passed away unexpectedly 3 years earlier. Life had hit them in sudden, uneven blows, and rebuilding had been a slow climb, but Aidan never stopped trying. He had taken the job as a house supervisor in the sprawling Ashton estate, a place of polished windows and whispering luxury, not because he wanted to serve wealth, but because it came with stability, a small guesthouse to live in, and enough pay to keep Rowan in school. The estate belonged to Byron Claythorne, a young billionaire CEO rarely seen on the grounds because he was always flying between cities, forging partnerships, and attending events. Aidan's role was to maintain order while he was away, ensuring the property remained functional and secure. On this particular day, the sun was bright overhead, spreading warm daylight across the estate gardens. Aidan moved through the mansion halls, checking security logs, adjusting thermostats, and ensuring maintenance teams were following their schedules. He had already been dealing with the stress of Rowan's persistent cough, something doctors had dismissed as seasonal, but something about it unsettled him, reminding him of the helplessness he felt when his wife fell ill. He had just stepped out of the staff office when he noticed a black luxury car pull quietly into the driveway, far earlier than planned. Byron Claythorne was supposed to be in Dubai for another 2 days. But there he was now, stepping out with a suitcase and an unreadable expression. Aidan wasn't prepared to face him, no one was. The house was mid-maintenance, sheets uncovered, tools lying around, and some staff were eating lunch on break. But the true weight in Aidan's chest came from what he knew was happening upstairs. He had discovered earlier that morning that someone had been tampering with the security system. It wasn't just a glitch, it was deliberate concealment. There were blind spots created, sections disabled, and traces of entry logs being altered. He suspected someone who worked inside the estate, someone who could bypass standard protocols. And Aidan, whose sense of responsibility ran deeper than fear, had been quietly investigating, desperate to find the truth before the owner returned. But now the owner was here. Byron stepped inside with calm authority, but before he could say a word, Aidan raised his hand instinctively and whispered through clenched teeth, "Shut up. Don't say a word." His entire body was tense, eyes unfocused but sharp. It wasn't disrespect, it was urgency. The caretaker nearby gasped, stepping back as if Aidan had committed a crime. Byron was shocked, caught completely off guard, but something in Aidan's face froze him in place. The single dad wasn't being reckless. He wasn't being rude. He was protecting someone or something. Aidan's heart pounded. If he acknowledged Byron, if he made any noise, he risked alerting the person Aidan believed was currently hiding upstairs. Aidan had no proof yet. Only instinct, a father's instinct sharpened by years of survival, that something dangerous was happening. His investigation had led him to the 6th-floor guest wing, an unused area with a malfunctioning camera. And Rowan was upstairs resting on one of the sofas while he handled rounds of Byron, confused, narrowed his eyes but stayed silent. His arrival must remain unnoticed until Aidan confirmed what was going on. Aidan motioned with urgent precision, pushing a finger against his own lips, then silently pointing upward. Byron followed his gesture and saw the faintest flicker of movement near the staircase railing. His body stiffened, understanding that this wasn't a power struggle, this was a warning. The billionaire's presence remained hidden as Aidan moved like a shadow, climbing the stairs quietly. Byron followed at a safe distance, staying behind the wall as instructed. The mansion felt unnervingly still. The broad daylight pouring through the tall windows did nothing to ease the tension. As Aiden approached the sixth floor, he heard shuffling, soft, hurried, desperate. When he finally turned the corner, the truth hit him with brutal clarity: his daughter wasn't lying on the couch anymore. She wasn't anywhere in sight. His heart constricted painfully. He had left her for only a few moments. Fear clawed at his chest as he scanned the space. Then he saw them, the intruder crouching behind a partially open door, holding Rowan with an arm around her shoulders, not hurting her but using her as a shield. The intruder wore the uniform of a maintenance worker, but Aiden recognized him instantly as the newest hire, a man who had been unusually quiet, oddly observant. The man's voice trembled as he warned Aiden to back away. But the single dad didn't panic. He read the panic in the intruder's posture. The man wasn't violent, he was afraid. He had been tampering with the system to steal information stored in Byron's private office, but something must have gone wrong. Rowan had likely woken up, spotted him, and startled him. The intruder wasn't trying to harm her, he was trapped by his own decisions. Aiden kept his voice low, steady, and reached out slowly, hands open, a father begging the world not to take the last thing he had. Rowan's eyes were wet, frightened, but she wasn't crying loudly. She trusted her father. The intruder hesitated, shaking, realizing he had no escape, and then behind Aiden, a presence shifted. The billionaire Byron stepped forward slowly, silently, revealing himself only when the intruder finally loosened his grip in defeat. It was the silent teamwork between the two men, one powerful by wealth, the other powerful by heart, that disarmed the intruder without a single injury. Security arrived shortly after and took the man away. Rowan ran into Aiden's arms, her small fingers clutching his shirt like a lifeline. Aiden held her tightly, breathing her in, grounding himself in the relief flooding through his veins. Only then did Byron speak. And in that moment, he wasn't a billionaire, he was just a man who had witnessed a father's courage. Aiden apologized for his earlier harsh words, but Byron stopped him. He had seen the fire in Aiden's eyes, the same protective fire Byron's own father had once shown him before he passed. He understood. The rest of the afternoon unfolded in daylight that streamed softly through the estate's windows, illuminating the quiet aftermath. Byron asked Aiden to explain everything from the beginning. And as Aiden described the system tampering, the suspicions, the fear for his daughter, Byron listened with genuine attention, nodding slowly. When Aiden finished, Byron surprised him with a gentle firmness, telling him that he had done exactly what a man of integrity would do. He had protected not just his child but the entire estate, and more than anything, Byron realized something deeper that day: there were things money could never buy: loyalty, instinct, courage, love. He had the wealth of the world, yet he didn't have what Aiden had in that moment, the kind of strength that rises in people who have everything to lose. Byron insisted that Aiden and Rowan move temporarily to a safer section of the estate while the entire system was rebuilt. He also arranged full medical checkups for Rowan, which revealed that her cough was caused by allergies and treatable with simple medication, something Aiden had worried about for weeks but couldn't afford further testing for. And in the quiet kindness of that gesture, Aiden felt a weight lift from his chest, one he had carried alone for far too long. As days passed, Byron grew closer to Rowan, who had a quiet charm and gentle wit that softened the cold walls he had built around his own. Loneliness. He learned her favorite colors, her hobbies, her dreams. He learned that Aiden had been teaching her to stay hopeful even when life felt unfair. And he learned that Aiden had once wanted to open a small security consulting agency but had shelved the dream after becoming a widower. One morning, as sunlight touched the garden in warm daytime brightness, Byron invited Aiden to his office and offered him something shocking: the opportunity to run the estate's entire security division, train the staff, and rebuild a system from scratch at triple his current salary. He also offered to fund Aiden's business dream, allowing him to build a future that aligned with his passion. Aiden was overwhelmed. He didn't cry easily, but that day, emotion slipped through the cracks. He accepted the offer with humility, knowing it would change everything for his daughter.